I'm Katie Merrill. I'm the Dean of Admissions, and this is one of our favorite panels that we do because it's our alumni panel, and very special to me. It's also our graduation week, so it's just a double joyous day. So with that, I'm joined by my colleague Shirley Crawford, and I am joined by our amazing leader, Dean McCormick. So I'm going to pass on, and our amazing alums that she's going to introduce, but I'm going to pass it on to Dean McCormick.
Well, welcome, and everyone, thank you for coming tonight. I am so thrilled to be part of this panel tonight, and I'm particularly thrilled that so many of the members of this panel were former students of mine. So without further ado, because I really want you to hear from them about their career paths, where they are now, how they got there, I'm going to introduce them. So first, I'm going to introduce Robert Baker, class of 2022, star civil procedure student in my class. He currently works at a law firm in labor and employment law. I'm next going to introduce Kara Shannon, class of 2015. She was one of our accelerated JD students, and she's currently the director of the Farmed Animal Welfare Policy at ASPCA. And Kara and I also share the joy of being on the same board together. We're currently both on the board of an animal shelter in Morrisville, Vermont. I next want to introduce Dylan King, class of 2017. He is an ESG attorney working at TD Bank, but he has previous experience at a law firm, which I'm sure he's eager to tell you about. And then Robert Lees, class of 2014, who serves as an assistant attorney general in Vermont. And Robert's claim to fame, in addition to being an assistant attorney general in Vermont, is that when he was a student, he was my dog sitter and lost my dog. But despite that, everything worked out in the end, and we're still friends. Next, I want to introduce Andy Dressel, class of 2007, who is the Vice President of Energy Reliability, Security, and Resilience at Charles River Associates in Utah. And last, but certainly not least, I want to introduce Jaden Spital, who is class of 23, who works in family law at Diana, Conti, and Tunila LLP in Connecticut. So I really want you to hear from these alums, hear from them about their career paths, how they got there, what they love, what they didn't, what they wish they knew before they got there. And I'll pass things back to Katie Merrill to get this discussion going.
Thank you, Dean McCormick, and welcome everyone. So I thought we'd start with introductions, and I'll just run through the same list. Robert, if you want to just introduce yourself and what you do and where you live.
Great. Thank you, Katie. I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm an associate at Ford and Harrison LLP, located in Midtown Atlanta. I practice labor employment law. So essentially, I provide guidance and counseling to employers regarding all employment-related matters, ranging from discrimination to harassment to issues related to the FLSA Act. Also, issues related to the NLRA regarding unions and collective bargaining. And part of my practice includes litigation as well as I previously mentioned, collective bargaining with unions and employers. I'm happy to be here and very much happy to see Dean McCormick and Katie Merrill, who are very much instrumental in my success at Vermont Law School. So I'm happy to be here and happy to provide any insight that I can.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Kara.
Hi, everyone. Also very good to be here. I'm Kara. I'm the Director of Farm Animal Welfare Policy at the ASPCA, which is the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. You've likely seen our very sad commercials on TV, dealing with our work with dogs and cats. But again, I lead our work in the farm space, so I have the unique privilege of leading both our federal and our state policy and regulatory work around farm animals, which is really focused on reforming the cruel factory farming industry, supporting a more humane food system. Really awesome, interesting work. I get to work with all kinds of organizations and leaders across both the food, the animal, the ag space, a lot of workers, a lot of labor pieces. I love it so much. I also get to work remotely from Montpelier, Vermont, which is another great bonus. And I've been doing this work for almost 9 years somehow. Went by quickly.
You're so right about it going by quickly. When you said that, I was like, really? It's been that long? It feels like yesterday. It has been a long time. All right, Dylan.
Hey everybody, Dylan King. I'm currently sitting in somewhere in I don't know, somewhere in Toronto. So the immediate job after law school, I went to a firm down in DC, and I was an environmental litigator for about 5.5 years, working on behalf of the regulated community, as we like to call them. After that, during that, I noticed my practice moving more towards straight ESG work. I wanted to do that full time, so I went out and went in-house at TD Bank, which is where I am now. And I practice out of Portland, Maine, which is great on my normal day-to-day basis. And happy to answer questions about ESG, going to firms, how law school prepped me, all those sorts of things. I'm a big VLS fan, and I try to get there as much as I can. So I like to think I've stayed connected. I hope my friends Beth and Katie remember me.
We do. Now we know who to go to for your ESG expertise. Andy.
Good evening, everybody, or afternoon, depending where you are. My name is Andy Dressel. I work as an energy consultant in focusing on reliability, security, and resilience of the electric grid. So I've been in this space for about 15 years. I'm a recovering attorney. I'm still licensed. Prior positions included in-house counsel at two regulatory bodies, one the Western Electricity Coordinating Council and one the North American Electric Reliability Corporation before becoming a consultant. And I've been a consultant for about 12 years now.
Thanks, Andy. Sorry, Rob, I jumped over you. Rob, our Attorney General.
No problem. Well, in addition to losing Dean McCormick's dog, which is still a contentious issue, I'm not sure really fully figured out what happened there. But class of 2014, and I worked in a private firm right down the road from BLS in White River, doing criminal defense and juvenile work for about 7 years. Then I switched to the Attorney General's side, so switched to state prosecution. I was in the criminal division for 2 years. I recently switched to the human services division, doing termination of parental rights and DCF, Department for Children and Families litigation, and I've been there since that time. So still in the area, just in Queechee, Vermont, so right down the road from VLS, so I make it back quite a bit.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob. All right, Jaden, do you want to follow up Rob, please?
Yeah. Hey guys, Jaden Spitali, class of 23. In addition to being a very proud alum, I'm also a former member of the admissions team. Very briefly, they hired me post law school to help out with some recruiting stuff, and so it's very nice to see Katie and Shirley on this call. I'm currently working in family law as an associate at Diana Conti and Tanilla in Manchester, Connecticut, back in my home state. A lot of the work that I do is divorce work, child custody, parentage, some domestic relief from abuse sort of stuff. It's tough work, but it's the best job in the world and can be so extremely rewarding. And I'm still pretty early on into it. Like I said, I graduated last year, so I'm just about 6 months in. But I'm very excited to talk about how Vermont helped me prepare and helped accelerate my career a lot. Yeah, looking forward to talking about it.
Thank you, Jaden. Dean McCormick, I know that you have an event that we have a great event happening right now on campus for our graduates. Before you head off to the event, I want to ask you and maybe tell a little bit about your journey and why you decided to come and teach at Vermont Law. And then I thought I'd turn it around to the panelists, what drew them to Vermont Law.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize. I do need to head to we're having a celebration right now for our graduates. We have commencement on Saturday. So the celebration has started today and it is ongoing right now. But I came to Vermont Law School because I was really drawn to teach. I had been practicing law as a litigator in a Boston law firm for about 10 years. And I was really interested in making a change, even though I loved my job. And I was attracted to Vermont Law School. I was attracted to its values, its location, the people that I met, their commitment to public interest, their commitment to the environment, their commitment to social justice, and then eventually our commitment to restorative justice, which is one of our other specialties. One of the reasons that I became a faculty member, and then ultimately I became a member of the administration, first as the dean of students and then the dean of the law school. One of the things that I love about the law school is that most of our faculty, probably 75% or more, have had practical experience before they became faculty. And that is something quite unique in American law schools, and certainly different from where I went to law school in Boston. Typically, academics really pursue a career in academia, and you might have all of your professors who have never taken the bar exam, who have never practiced law before. And that's just not the case at Vermont Law and graduate school. Most of our faculty have practiced in one way or another. We have public defenders, we have people that worked at EPA, we have environmental attorneys, we have energy attorneys, we have a ton of policy professionals. And I think that really makes a difference in the classroom. It makes a difference on what they focus on. It makes a difference in students' relationship with that professor and how it might lead to career opportunities. And it just makes a difference in the overall feel of the school. So it's one of the things that I am most proud of about our school. And that's why I was so excited to participate in this event today, even though we have these commencement events, because I love showing you what our students are able to do in the field after graduation. So I really hope that you enjoy learning from our alums today. And I also offer my ear as available to you if you want to talk more about the school or the opportunities available at the school. And that's it, I think. I'll pass it back to Katie. I think they want to hear from our alums, so I'll stop talking.
Yeah, thank you, Dean McCormick. All right, so I was curious what attracted you to Vermont Law, and I'm just going to kind of go in a random order. So I'm going to start with Rob. Rob, what attracted you to Vermont Law?
Sure. I went to undergraduate in Vermont and had a couple professors there that taught at Vermont Law School as well. So I had that connection. But as Dean McCormick said, as soon as I stepped onto the campus and started meeting people, I knew that it was the law school that I wanted to attend. I applied to a few other law schools, but there was no school that I encountered that kind of had the personality and just it was a warm-hearted place to come visit. I go back all the time. It's a great place. The professors are accessible, and it was a great experience. So I figured that all out early on before I even decided that it was where I wanted to go, and it didn't disappoint. So that's kind of how I got looped into. I did want to do environmental law right off the bat. That's kind of what I wanted to do in undergrad and what I went to law school for. But sometimes you start taking classes and you decide that you want to do something else, and that's sort of what happened at Vermont Law School. So I ended up doing kind of going down a different path. But Vermont Law School, it was a great place to be.
That's so true. Everyone comes here with an idea in their mind, and then they are drawn to other areas. Robert comes to us from, are you from Georgia originally? Like, what brought you to Vermont Law?
Yes, I am. And I'll just keep it short and sweet, honestly, because I attended a pre-law uh, program over in the summer preceding the fall of what was it? Wow, it seems so long ago, but it wasn't in 2019. And I met Shirley Jefferson. And for those of you who know who Shirley Jefferson is, I need not say more. But for those of you who do not know her, she is everything in one person. She's empathetic, she's supportive, she's inspiring. She's someone who will, she'll spend her last dime to make sure you're okay, and she'll drop everything she's doing to help you in any regard, academics, personal life, as well as, postgraduate. So I just say that, Shirley Jefferson, she scooped me up through one conversation, and the rest was history. And I'm forever thankful for her and what she saw in me as a young man at that time, fresh out of undergrad. So Shirley Jefferson was my why.
I love that. She's a big mentor of mine too, and such a wonderful human. Kara.
Yeah. Gosh, just even hearing her name, like it was, she's so lovely. For me, when I started even considering law school, I knew I wanted to do public interest law. I didn't even want to litigate. I knew I wanted to do policy. So obviously, and I knew I wanted to do food, ag, environmental law. So obviously I put Google, Vermont law comes up first. They were ranked #1 environmental law at the time. I visited campus. It was amazing. And when I happened to have a meeting with the admissions person, I don't think he's there anymore, but he said, we're thinking about starting an accelerated program. So you could get that JD in 2 years. So then I was extra sold. I didn't apply anywhere else. It was VLS or bust. I was not going to be a lawyer if I was not going to be a Vermont law alum. And it was the best decision ever. Again, I'm still in Vermont. I still go down. Now there's an animal law whole program that didn't exist when I was there. That's so cool. I've gotten to interact with that amazing team now in my own professional life. There's no place like Vermont law. And I have a lot of friends that went to law school at more of your classic kind of, I want to call them scary, which isn't fair, but to me, they were scary, kind of classic big law. And it's such a different culture and environment. Like, we're all studying together at VLS because we're all in it together. You hear stories of them ripping pages out of books so folks can't find the answer at other law schools. So there's nothing like it. And it was the only choice for me.
Thank you. You met with Michael Pryles, one of my dear friends, and I miss him every day. He's a stay-at-home dad now. Amazing, amazing guy. All right, I am going to Dylan King.
Thanks, Katie. These are all great reasons to go to Vermont law. I think initially, at the time I was living in Portland, Maine, but so I was geographically close by, but more importantly, I was really interested in the clinic programs that Vermont law offers. So Vermont has, you could be interested in criminal law or environmental law, energy law, community nonprofit stuff. If you can imagine it, you can probably find a clinic that's going to help you get some hands-on experience while at Vermont law. So that was just tremendous for me because my brother had just gone through law school, and his big complaint coming out was that his education was extremely hypothetical, and when he landed at a firm, he felt very underprepared. Very smart, but underprepared. And so I thought the clinic setting at Vermont law was just a tremendous bonus.
Thanks, Dylan. With that, I'm going to move to Andy.
Thank you. So what attracted me to Vermont law, I studied forestry and then switched over to kind of resource conservation my senior year of college. I went to University of Montana out in Missoula, Montana. And very much an outdoors person, wanted to had really got interested in law school through a natural resources policy class I took my senior year there. And so Vermont law's pedigree in environmental law really was what attracted me to Vermont law. Although like Rob, I kind of shifted after I got to Vermont Law, and at the same time, VLS or VLGS, I'm still adapting to that. Began the Institute for Energy and the Environment, and I just started taking all the classes that I could take for energy, and really, it opened my eyes to what I wanted to do, and it's really been such a tremendous decision. The alumni network from Vermont Law in the energy field is really great. I actually spoke with an attorney today who I reached out to, just on the, I'm in a new position, so I have to reach out to people and potentially generate business. One of the attorneys I reached out to today, the link was just that we both went to Vermont Law. It's really a special place, and I can echo so much of what the other speaker said. It's tremendously supportive. It's not cutthroat. You have a great community supporting you, and you really get to know your professors and classmates, because Vermont Law and Graduation School is much of South Royalton.
That's so true. You'll know everybody here, and you'll get to know all our alums through your experience. So Jaden, you're up next, and what I thought you could talk a little bit about why you chose VLS. And I know you are very similar to Kara, as you loved our accelerated JD program, which we started in, our first class came in 2013, I think was the first class. And now for some of the people who are online right now, there are online hybrid JDs. So we still have accelerated on campus, but now we also have our online hybrid JDs that just started 2 years ago. So Jaden, if you could talk a little bit about that, and then I was hoping you could weave in, and Dylan mentioned it a little bit earlier, the clinics, because as you all know, we're very experiential based. The ABA only requires 6 credits of experiential, and it could be like simulation, and our students end up doing way more. It's very hands-on. So Jaden, if you want to take it away.
Yes, absolutely. So to first just echo what a lot of other people said, you heard some words like the character of the town and the alumni, and I think that's sort of probably the biggest selling point, and it's what brought me to Vermont Law. It was a huge reason. I grew up in a small town, a village in New England. It's in Connecticut, but going to another New England village in Vermont felt very comfortable to me. It was the sort of atmosphere I was looking for. And I knew that these were going to be some of the hardest years of my life. And I wanted to be surrounded by the type of people who would choose to live in a small village in New England. And they're the absolute best kind of people. I still keep in touch with so many alumni. It's such a great network. And the other big thing that drew me to Vermont Law was, the money aspect, which is tied into the accelerated program. For me, I had some opportunities to go to some other schools with some better scholarships, frankly. But the opportunity to do law school in 2 years and save a year on cost of living, and to be able to get into the workforce a year earlier, those were all very attractive options to me. And now I'm doing it. I'm in practice a year before I would have been if I hadn't done the accelerated program. And I'm so happy to to be working and to be doing everything that I've been building up to this point. The accelerated program, it's tough. I mean, you take some condensed semesters, your summers can get pretty intense. You're cramming an entire semester's worth of material into like 9-10 weeks, but the time that you get to shave off of your total curriculum is very nice and very useful. And the people that you meet in the accelerated program, you become a pretty tight-knit community. And it's just a really valuable experience for those of you who are going into the accelerated. I can't speak highly enough about it. I'm very excited for you. And to weave into the experiential portion, I didn't actually know much about the experiential portion when I came to Vermont Law, but I certainly found out about it. Katie mentioned that you're only required by the ABA to take 6 credits worth of experiential learning. I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, I did 28 credits worth. And so it was a lot. I did a full-time internship. I did 2 part-time clinics. And my clinical experience is what I really want to talk about because that's what got me to my current career. I did not want to do family law. I had no interest in family law. I wanted to do environmental law. And I decided to do the family law clinic solely because family law was tested on the bar exam. I wanted some real hard work experience, meeting with clients, going to court. So I tried it out, and it was the opportunity of a lifetime for me. I got thrown right in. The supervising attorneys care about your development. They care about your learning experience and your ability to have opportunities to do things that, frankly, a lot of first-year attorneys don't get to do. The biggest reason why I got my job that I have now, and my boss told me this, was because he was hiring anyone with 0 to 2 years of experience in the legal community, and he was interviewing first and second year associates who had never been in the courtroom before and never argued cases. And I was like, I was in court every single week in the legal clinic, representing clients, doing it myself. And you have a supervising attorney who makes sure you don't screw anything up too badly. But you get that real experience, and it's so valuable. It gets you jobs. It gets you more than just the classroom, black and white law sort of experience that you get at most other law schools. And the experience that everybody always wants me to share when I help out with these things is it just sort of encapsulates the amount of opportunity you can have in these clinics. Is when I was in my second stint at the family law clinic at the South Royalton Legal Clinic, they gave me the opportunity to perform oral arguments in front of the Vermont Supreme Court. I got to take an actual case that belonged to the legal clinic and argue in front of a full panel of state Supreme Court justices. And that's something that even my supervising attorney at the time had never done. Most people in their career, they go their entire career without getting to argue in front of a state Supreme Court. It's a bucket list item for some people. And I got to do it as a law school student. And it's something I might never get to do again. I argue on the superior court level now. I'm not on the appellate level. And it's just, I'm always going to be so thankful for that experience. And it made me a better lawyer. And it continues to impact the work I do today.
Yeah, that was an amazing experience. I remember how nervous you were before you were heading up there. Dylan, you touched on that. Clinics, classes, what did you feel like helped you get that job?
Oh, my job after graduation?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So after graduation, I went down and worked for I think it's just still the largest environmental law firm in the country out of Washington, D.C. called Beveridge and Diamond. And the clinics, I remember years after I got there, and I ended up actually working within the firm on their recruiting committee for years. And so I had a lot of time to reflect on, how we judge candidates for firms and what are the sort of bonus items we see in resumes and application packages. And clinics, like, time and again came up for us because it really allows people to hit the ground running as a first year, as Jaden was just talking about. There are a lot of law schools out there that are extremely They teach in a hypothetical sense. We will do many hypotheticals regardless of what law school to go to, but they don't put you on the ground and sort of dip your toes in the water, which is really what the clinic experiences allow you to do. You represent real clients, you go out and you go to court, you might be drafting briefs. And frankly, like all those things are often what first-year associates at law firms are doing. They're learning how to do those things. And so if you've already learned that in law school and gotten credits while you do it, you're just head and shoulders above the other first years often. And so when I got to the firm in 2017, I certainly felt that way. I had, first year associate classmates who, frankly, like didn't know what a brief was, or they didn't know how to do conflicts checks when a client comes in, or they didn't know, when I had to walk through how to, which side of the courtroom to sit on. They were just, they were very just unpracticed. And so that was a phenomenal development, piece of Vermont law for me. I think all students who come out and do lots of clinic work, it's just tremendously beneficial.
Kara, Rob, do you guys want to add anything to like an experience at Vermont Law that helped prepare you for your current position or just being a lawyer?
Sure, I can jump in. I mean, just having done the criminal law clinic at Vermont Law School was extremely beneficial for me moving into doing criminal law. I was able to be in court and argue motions and get that experience. So the criminal law clinic at Vermont Law School was very helpful, and that kind of guided me towards what I eventually want to do, getting into criminal defense. And it actually set me up with the firm that I ended up with after graduation. So the criminal law clinic was a great experience, and you get experience from all sides. So you have a prosecutor, an appellate attorney, a defense attorney coming in and teaching the classes. So that was helpful to get a well-rounded experience going into practice.
That's so true. Our professors, many of them have real world experience. They just aren't, a lot of law schools professors that they've really never practiced. They just teach the law. And a lot of our professors have actively practiced law. Vice President Jefferson, Robert, she practiced law in DC and then came back to the school to work and teach. Robert, can you talk a little bit about something at VLS that was very influential that you carried forward in your position?
I would say my time on the Journal, Law Review, it was really a great experience, a great learning experience, and it kind of like heightened my time management skills, and also increased my legal writing. I would say it definitely prepared me for my position now as an associate, where I'm constantly writing briefs, essentially, and I will say it definitely helped me with my legal research skills, which are pertinent, especially when you're advising clients every day with the drop of a hat, turnaround time, maybe 30 minutes. So I would say my time on the Journal really catapulted my understanding of what it takes to, or what it would take to practice the law, because it really turned into a second job. But it was a beautiful experience. I learned a lot about myself, as well as my fellow journal members. So I would say the journal life was it.
Oh, that's great. All right. So I know you said that it was like a second job, and law school is stressful and you have to time management, all of that. What did you all do for fun or your free time at VLS? Robert, I'll go right back to you since you were studying, working at the Journal. And what did you do for fun?
Well, I'll say it probably doesn't sound like the most fun for everyone else, but I made it a habit, and I really enjoyed taking that drive up to Dartmouth College and studying in their library, and just interacting with students and graduate students on campus, as well as I even developed a relationship with some of the staff there. And I would say just Dartmouth College was just a kind of like a short kind of getaway, getting out of a town. And not like I was trying to leave Soror, but just a different change of scenery. And I really, really did admire the artwork that was in the library. So that was one thing that I remained true during my time at VLS. I took that trip.
One of your fellow alums, and you'll study here because we have a wonderful library, but a lot of alums do sneak down a day down at Dartmouth just for a change of pace. One of your fellow alums, maybe 2 years before you, was studying down there, and they met their husband. I know, random, but I just thought that was a little tidbit because they really loved it down there. It's about 25 minutes from campus. All right, Andy, you have the Montana background, Vermont background. Give it up. What you love to do here?
Well,
I
I needed to be at a place with mountains, and I grew up in Pennsylvania, but mountains brought me west, and then Vermont had its share as well, and so I hiked to Kent's Ledge countless times during my years at Vermont Law, and other spots all around the Green Mountains. And in the winter, I'd skied quite frequently. Hopefully it didn't interrupt with class too much, but and also there's just a lot of festivals and things, particularly in the fall and spring, not as many in the winter, but there's all sorts of small town festivals all through Vermont that are a lot of fun to get out and go to. And there's always local foods and music, and there's just a lot to do and people to meet, so that can be a lot of fun.
You're so right about that, because I moved here from Arizona, California. And I was like, well, what am I going to do in this small town? And there's so much to do. And I feel like I was extremely busy. Kara, talk about what you did for fun, or if there's anything you want to add to the clinics too.
Well, I can say I was the first group, one of 2 clinicians in the food and ag clinic when it was first started. And that was amazing. I had the best time. Another beauty of the accelerated program is that they're relatively small. So I feel like I just had a curated, like, my whole stay through at BLS, because my class, I think, was only 9 of us. And we started off with, taking 1L classes with just 9 of us. And then my clinic was just the 2 of us. So like tons of hands-on, work, and that was just such a fun way to dive into a whole bunch of we're working on like legal organizations of farmers markets and stuff like that. So that was amazing. I loved the clinic. But in terms of, I'm not going to help out the small town rumors here, but I managed to befriend a couple of farmers. So whenever I could, I'd go out and help like feed the pigs and the cows. That was always helpful for me to take a break. And then despite never having touched a rugby ball in my whole life, I was on the VLS women's rugby team, which we were horrible, but we had a great time. So I really encourage anyone, it's also just really nice to have a physical outlet in law school when you're sitting on your butt all day, reading and studying. And that was a really fun way to let loose.
Was Allison? No, Allison was just, she didn't play the rugby, but I remember the best event. We do all sorts of fun events here on campus. Sorry, I'm interjecting like I'm an alum, but the women's rugby breakfast. Remember, that's such a fun event. I also think there's a little beer involved. It was like pancakes and beer. I swear, it seems familiar. Dylan, Rob, fun stuff that you did.
I'll go first. I'm from Maine, so of course I spent like a lot of time on the river. If you haven't looked at the map, you'll see that there's the White River flows all over that area, up and down the valley, and flows into the Connecticut, I believe, farther down. So tons of opportunities, a lot of canoeing, fishing, and then we drove to Killington pretty much every weekend for 3 years while it was open. So you can get quite a bit of skiing in, and then you're also under 3 hours from Boston, Montreal, and there's a bunch of big cities you can get to pretty quickly. So we would do some trips over there and get some urban time. And then I think, not for nothing, but in the warmer months, just sitting at one of the little restaurants or breweries right around South Royalton, having a beer is pretty nice on a Saturday when you have to do some studying. So there's never a dull moment, but if you want relaxation, it's also quite available.
I know it's a nice day today. It's a perfect day to sit by the river and have a nice brewski. Rob, what was your go-to activity?
Well, I lived in South Royalton, so I did a lot of running. There's amazing running trails and hiking trails right outside of town. So I tended to stay in town, but to echo Dylan, I mean, the skiing opportunities around here are unmatched in the Northeast. So yeah, Killington, biggest ski resort in the Northeast, is close by. You can get a student pass. I think I did that at least 2 years that I was a student, and you get out when you can, but it's a great deal, and it's really helpful to get outside and balance everything else that you're doing in law school. So I think more than many other schools, there's just a ton of outdoor opportunities for everyone to get involved with.
Very true. I'm a big city girl, and I know for all of you who are considering Vermont law, I think we're close to a city. I grew up in cities, and so it's like, what, 2 hours, 15 minutes to Boston, 5.5 hours to Montreal. Wait, no, New York City, 3.5 hours to Montreal. So I always feel that there's a chance to get that city fix. I'm gonna tease Jaden a little bit. And then I see that there's a question. I was gonna say, hey, Jaden, what'd you do for fun? He was like that person, what not to do in law school, because he just studied the entire time. And I'm always thank goodness for one of his buddies who like had that life balance. And then she would kind of say, hey, it's okay to do stuff. You may want to just talk a little bit about that, Jaden. And then there's a question, it looks like from for you, Robert, in the thing. So if you want to, Jaden, talk a little bit about how you balanced law school and life, or did not balance law school and life.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good segue, because to break a little bit of the fourth wall, we all have the questions that we're going to be asked today, and balance is a big thing that I was going to talk about in the next question that Katie was going to ask us about, maybe some advice that we have for incoming students. And yeah, so I think the first thing I would say is Katie makes a pretty good point. I'm an example of maybe what not to do. I think law school, you get out of law school what you put into it, and I think there's probably no upper limit to the amount of hours you could invest into your craft for something like this. I think if you want to study an endless amount of hours, you can, but it's just a question of what that's doing to you and what sort of gains you're getting out of that. And so, I tell some nightmare stories about my first year of law school, and specifically, there was one summer where I was doing the legal clinic part-time, I was taking a bar class, and I was doing appellate advocacy. And so, and I was doing that all during the summer. And so some of our alum might be able to picture how busy that summer probably was for me. And I was studying like 90 hours a week between my classes and like writing papers and doing the clinic and all of this stuff. And over my first year, I lost like 40 pounds. I stopped sleeping well. I, you know, I was in real bad shape by the end of my first year, and I was like, I have to make a change. And I did. and I had some really great friends, and great friends was what got me through that first year to begin with. The fact that I was even able to survive while doing all of that is a credit to the people that I met at Vermont Law. But to get myself back on the right track and develop these skills that would be essential for bar prep, and then when I actually got into my career that I do now, um, you have to learn ways to find balance. You have to give yourself opportunities to go out and do fun things. You have to make sure that you're devoting enough of yourself to your craft and your studies, and these important things, because career and right now your career is going to be being a student. It's such a big part of our identity, and so devoting enough to that, um, and then just devoting enough to yourself. I was somebody who struggled a lot with the resources in law school, and part of that was just not having access to a ton of resources, and part of that was self-inflicted, not taking out enough loans, which feels awful. I shouldn't have to take out so many loans just to feed myself, but I learned after my first year, take out that extra $1,000 and make sure that you're eating well every single day, and stop studying when it hits 11 o'clock. Like, set a hard line for yourself, um, and develop these skills and start early, because when you get to practice, you're going to want to have these skills in your bag already. And there are things that I rely on, and I'm much healthier now that I've been able to learn all these things. And I have a long, happy career ahead of me because I was able to find balance. So, I think as long as you're thinking about that word balance as you go through law school, you'll be in good shape. Just don't lose sight of it.
Thank you, Jaden. All right, so we can go on. We love to chat here. I'm gonna skip to a question that was for Robert. I have a question for Mr. Baker. As a fellow resident of Georgia, do you feel that your educational experience prepared you for Georgia legal arena, given that the school is New England based? And all of you can kind of have an answer to this, whoever feels like answering, but you can go first. Oh, in Georgia, I didn't know, isn't the uniform bar exam. And he kicked it on the bar. I'm just gonna brag. But Robert, do you want to talk a little bit about going to New England, and then like everybody here typically goes across the country?
Yes, thank you, Katie. Great question. My initial answer is yes. At VLS, I learned the tools needed to succeed as an attorney, but first on the bar exam. I had a sense of how I learned, so to speak, and I think all of the alum can kind of attest to that. You found your rhythm in terms of retaining the information, keeping a good schedule, staying on top of things, and all of that translated into first the bar exam. I knew how I learned, and I stuck with it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Kind of, that's what I heard growing up. And so in that regard, BLS taught me how to study, so to speak, the law, and how to apply the law to a set of facts, which is essentially, that's what the bar exam culminates into. And as an attorney, I will say that I'm a victim of, I've kept that same schedule that I had in law school, so to speak, into my career, because again, it worked for me in law school. Why wouldn't it work for me as a practitioner? Of course, circumstances are different. You're not judged. You don't look at a grade, so to speak, to see if you're on track. You just, for me at least, you recognize that your badge still works when you try and get inside the building. But I'll say that I definitely felt prepared for the bar exam, and which is its own beast. And others on this call can definitely attest to that. But I felt definitely equipped with the foundation needed to succeed on a bar exam, as well as an attorney. I don't think that me being a resident of Georgia had any negative effect or gave me a disadvantage. If anything, it kind of propelled me into embracing the change because I'm from Georgia and I had never been to Vermont. Why not? You know, I learned a lot about myself. I learned about a lot about what I do like to do and what I don't like to do. And I will say it was just an unbelievable experience that you'll have your challenges. You'll have your challenges throughout, but if you stick with it, you're going to look at yourself in the mirror and be so thankful because you're going to turn into a totally different person, at least.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to add? I mean, we have Andy in Utah, Dylan, you're all over, currently in Toronto. Kara decided that there's a saying that you fall in love with Vermont when you come here, so you end up staying here. Rob, where are you originally from? You went to college at UVM, but I know he's trying to unmute. Jaden's from Connecticut and then went back to Connecticut. Yeah, everybody practices everywhere across the country. Does anybody want to add anything? Dylan, do you want to add anything? Because you seem to have gone all over.
Yeah, and maybe this fits into, it looks like Kelly Trimble has a question too in the comments that may or may not relate to this. But I guess I'll hit on both the earlier question and Kelly's question. So I don't think any particularly regional law school like Vermont Law is going to disadvantage you from practicing in other areas. People from my class have gone all over the country, from Southwest, Northwest, South, West. I mean, they've gone everywhere, including international, and they've all had no problems passing the bar and practicing where they are. So to the extent that's, a concern, I can see why, but I wouldn't, let it dissuade you from such a wonderful opportunity. Certainly when I left, I went down to Massachusetts first, and now I practice between there and Maine. And I was in DC for a while, so it's, the bar memberships were not an issue. And then Kelly, you asked a question about travel to South Royalton, which I think is somewhat related. How does one get to VLGS from the rest of the world? That's a good question. A lot of and Katie, you probably have a better answer than I, but at least since I'm talking, I'll say that when I was there, a lot of people took bus services from New York and Boston if they didn't drive. Both major airports there have bus services, and there's also a train that stops at two fairly nearby towns. And then my brother, when he used to visit, he would fly into Burlington Airport, and he would take a bus from Burlington, and it would drop him off, I think in Bethel. Katie, does that sound right? I kind of forget where that bus stop is, but maybe it's White River.
White River. Yeah, White River.
Yeah. And it was all super easy, very nice. For such a secluded spot, there actually is quite a bit of public transportation, just usually a town or two away.
Yeah. That's very true. The little airport in Lebanon, I would rent a car. They have Avis. It's where I go sometimes and pick up a rent a car. But because there's not a lot of mass public transportation here. So if you fly in, hit Lebanon, then you would need to rent a car, but it's pretty reasonable. One thing, because we're kind of short on time, Madeline asked what do you wish you knew before going to law school? This is kind of the $1 million question. And I don't know if you guys just want to say something brief, and then we can go on from there. Maybe just one sentence. I'm going to start, Andy.
Well, I kind of took a different approach from Jaden, especially through my first year and a half of law school, and was on the other end of the spectrum, and was, doubting my, ability to continue at law school, but I think what I would say is resilience. It will try you in a number of different ways. You need to be resilient, and the other part is you can do it.
You're so right about that. It's so true. You can do it. All right, Kara.
I was a child when I started law school, so many things. Like I was like 22. But oh gosh, I mean, I do think, and it was something I learned kind of quickly, because I knew I wasn't going to do any of the really competitive things. Like I wasn't trying to get a clerkship or anything. I remember being very inspired. One of the first things you'll do if you join VLS is you'll go up to the State House for a day where you meet all kinds of cool alum that are working at the State House. And there's an incredible woman who's now a consultant at a lobbying firm, but her name's Rebecca Ramos, and she's an alum. And at that day, she gave a speech and told everyone that through her entire time at law school, she never once opened her grades. She had no idea what grades she was getting, but she's figured if they were bad, she'd find out. And if not, they must be good enough to keep going. So I think that's amazing. And it feels like something worth hearing before you consider going to law school.
Oh, I love that. That's so true. Jaden.
Yeah, as far as things that I wish I knew going into law school, like Kara said, I was 20 when I showed up to South Royalton. I had my 21st birthday party a week after my first law school class. I was a baby, and I still am a baby, but I I think just getting back to the learning how to take care of yourself thing, it's a tough thing already for I think young people going through these stressful periods who, especially if you've never had any work experience or real committed work experience where you've had to learn how to balance 40, 50 plus hours a week and your health and the stresses about finances and stuff like that. It can be a lot. So yeah, I think I just wish I knew how to take care of myself better, but now I can also say that's part of the learning process. You're not just in law school to learn the law, you're also in law school to learn how to exist as a lawyer post grad. And part of that is learning how to take care of yourself. So, you'll get better at it.
Thank you. Is anyone, Dylan, any final words of what they all should do right now?
I think there is one that I am seeing more and more as I get close to, let's see, 7 or 8 years here out of law school. But you don't have to be a lawyer after law school to really use the law. I have a tremendous amount of colleagues at the bank, and even when I was at the firm, in administrative and executive positions at the firm, that are lawyers by training, but not lawyers by profession. When you go to law school, you really learn to think like a lawyer. You learn to think a whole different way about the world around you. And I think it would have made me less nervous about going to law school because I wasn't always positive that I wanted to be a lawyer, but I knew I wanted the legal education for a variety of different things I wanted to do in my life. And I did become a lawyer, but there are so many opportunities for people who have had legal education post law school.
And I'll just add that I was, of course, very much inspired throughout my time in law school. So, but I will say, I wish I knew how many doors that JD would open. I mean, it's been a whirlwind, I would say, of opportunity post-graduation. So that's something I wish I would have known, of course, because it would have been added, created an added reason, but it opened so many doors. So that's something I wish I would have known.
Thank you. And thank you all. It's just so wonderful to see you. And these are amazing. Rock stars, fun. Good to see you. The other day I had April Urbanowski picked up the phone. She had a student who's interested in law school, and they were a little panicked. And it's just every time I see you or I get a call, it's just wonderful. And I do have to say a lot of reasons why students will come to Vermont Law. one, we have great programming. Two, they know an alum. They meet an alum and they're like, wow, this is this amazing, smart, brilliant, well-rounded. I feel like you all are well-rounded, dedicated humans. So thank you. Thank you for that. Shirley, thank you. I was hoping that you could maybe close us out.
Thanks. Yeah, sure.
And
One of the
Shirley's
things
an alum too. I
Yes,
have
I
to
am.
brag. She's like big law, security law, way back, New York City. So sorry, I wanted to brag about her.
And then when I got tired of doing all the all-nighters with my job, I came to work in admissions. I have a regular life with balance. So I wanted to mention that this coming Tuesday, we're having a student panel or a panel made up of current students that are veterans, active military, and military family members. That might be of interest, to some of you to check out. It'll be Tuesday, the 21st of May at 6 p.m. I popped in the link, the little link where you can register for that. And also next Thursday on the 23rd at 6 p.m., we're doing a presentation with current students on how to best prepare for law school that some of you might feel helpful as well. So again, that's all those links are in the chat. And for all of our panel members, thank you so much for coming, and audience as well. We look forward to seeing you at our future events. And if
Thanks,
anyone,
everybody.
yeah, I was gonna say, if anyone
Thank you.
needs any other information or wanted to contact anybody, I'll put my my contact information in the chat also, and you can reach me there.
Perfect. Thanks. Thank you all.